Y'all want to play some Valheim? Okay, so what I'd really like to do today is build a restaurant. So I have this little area right here that's set up to overlook my harbor, and I really would like to just gather some wood today and get this thing built. That way I could cook some nice meals in my cauldron here, sit down, look out over my harbor, and just, the game's peaceful, might as well, make me a nice little peaceful restaurant to eat at. So we can just go out here past the barn and start gathering us some wood. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pop elder. That'll let us fell trees a lot faster. And then we'll just start on these birch trees over here. Are you serious, dude? I literally just hit the tree. Alright, come here, you little bastard. Now, as clear as it may seem, I don't hate the Greylings. As a matter of fact, how could you hate anything that's just there to protect the forest? Anyways, if I'm going to build a little effigy to burn, I need to start this build out with some armature wire. We'll start by bending and shaping the wire into some knees and a little torso. Then we'll open up this fresh pack of Super Sculpey and start bulking out his body. Now, I'm not exactly sure if Greylings have butts underneath that big bulbous rock, but this one's going to have some nice buns of steel. And for his legs and feet, we're just going to roll out a hot dog style tube, mush it into some bell bottoms, and then cut the bottom of the pants to make it look like he has some toes. Then I use this pen stylist to run up his legs and his body to start making it look like wood grain. And after I accomplished a decent base for his body, I moved on to making its little head. Now, what really inspired me to build this thing was these little matchstick LEDs that was advertised to me on my Facebook page. Thank you, Zuckerberg. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to me. Then once his little turkey face was done, I used a little bit of liquid Sculpey to adhere it to the body, and it was in the oven for his first bake. With our little sapling in the oven, I can go ahead and roll out a blob of clay and start sculpting the boulder that he carries on his back. This is pretty simple. You just mush it until it looks like a rock, and then I use a ball stylist to put grooves into the boulder and give it a little bit of depth. After that, I decided to take my lazy butt outside and grab an actual rock to start texturing this thing. After all, it needed to look kind of convincing since this was going to be a realistic build. With our little friend back from the bakery and looking more like a naked 98-year-old man standing in the rain, and not so much like a boulder-bearing tree stump, it was time to break out the liquid Sculpey once more, adhere the boulder to his back, and wrap some tendrils around it to make it look like he was actually packing his weight. Now, I never really noticed it before, but if you pay attention, you can see that the Greyling's arms actually come out of the top of the stump, which means his head is below his shoulders, which means he's the hunchback of Valheim. But I'm not giving in to the Quasimodo love story. However, I will bring them all to satisfactory of death. And the only reason that I brought up a Disney film is so that I could say the word Disney and YouTube might pick that up and slide me into a nice comfortable spot within the algorithm. Other than that, I'm already 6 feet under the dirt and they didn't even leave me a tube to breathe out of. And with my YouTube rant out of the way, it was time to put this birch boy in the oven for the last time and move on to the base. For the base, I decided to use this little plastic box. All I had to do is go around and trim up all the edges, give every surface a nice smooth sanding so that everything would adhere well, and then I drilled a hole through the face of it to insert a toggle switch, and then crossed my fingers hoping that all my electronics would fit inside and it wouldn't be too much of a struggle to get this thing lit up. Now for the terrain, I decided to lay down a base coat of Mod Podge and spread it around with a putty knife. Then after that, I mixed up a bit of tile mortar and smeared it all over the place, keeping everything low profile. Once the top was completely covered, I added a little bit of basalt to give the terrain a more realistic variation. All that was left was to add our little resin-filled friend and move on to the priming and painting. I started off by giving the terrain a base coating of earth brown. I wanted to try to keep all my colors as true to the video game as I possibly could, but with also trying to take a spin on it to make it look more realistic. And for the little Pinocchio phony, I started with a darker shade of gray and worked my way up to a light red cedar color to really bring out the highlights and make him look like he does in game. Then I topped off this paint job with a simple black acrylic wash to bring out more of the detail. Then I used a little bit of Mod Podge and green flocking to bring out all the little vines and growth all over his body. Last thing to do was pull out my cultivator and add some grass back to the terrain, and he was ready for his pyre. With all that out of the way, I can get back to slaying these wooden demons. Be sure to mine away at that like button. If you haven't yet, consider subscribing. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all on the other end of the trail.